You probably know the feeling, sweaty, fast breathing, quick heart rate. That's a cortisol spike. It feels awful, and its imbalance is the cause of your anxiety. Rebalance Health's 3-part anxiety system helps address it at the root. Rebalance Health lozenges are natural and designed for optimal absorption, providing 24-hour relief. Live life fully without feeling like you're fighting for it. Get 50% off your first month with code CALM23 at rebalancehealth.com.
Selling your car to Carvana is as easy as...
As easy as pie?
Sure. All you have to do is enter your license plate or VIN.
As easy as a stroll in the park.
Okay, then just answer a few questions and you'll get a real offer in seconds.
As easy as singing.
Why not? Schedule a pickup or drop off and Carvana will pay you that amount right on the spot.
As easy as playing guitar.
Actually, I find that kind of difficult. But selling your car to Carvana is as easy as...
Can be.
Visit Carvana.com or download the app to get an instant offer today.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Join us as we seek the truth and travel the long road to justice.
Hey everybody, Fruit Loop here. My what you know for this episode is, did you know that snakes can help predict earthquakes? They can sense a coming earthquake from 75 miles away up to 5 days before it happens. I wonder if Zulema knows this. I apologize for the black screen on YouTube. It was some weird, funky editing issue. And I didn't see it until later, so you guys had already commented, so I didn't want to take it down. So just ignore everything after 42 minutes. So we are continuing our trek back through some of our older episodes highlighting the Pike County Massacre. This is episode 4, so if you missed a day this week, I encourage you to go back and watch or listen to those before listening to this one. The trial is coming up in August, so sit back and take a listen.
We did a couple of episodes on the Roden murders in Ohio that took place in 2016, where a family of 4 has been arrested and charged with multiple counts of murder for slaughtering a family of 8 in their sleep during the night. And it all stemmed down to custody. For those of you that don't know about the case, we're not going to get too deep into the backstory, but you had one guy, Jake Wagner, who was part of the family of 4 accused of doing the murders, who was in a relationship with Hannah Roden, who was one of the 8 and the mother of his child.
Yep.
And so essentially this family was very cult-like to me. They did everything together. Even their finances were kind of intermingled. And they had gotten custody of the other brother's son by essentially scaring to death the mother of that child. If you remember, when kind of the straw that broke the camel's back was she was at their house, and whatever was threatened to her was so bad, she ran out of the house and hid on the property until dark, till she could leave. So they had a history of wanting custody of these grandkids.
That's pretty big. That's a big deal.
I do think the mom kind of was the one that was obsessed with the custody of these kids.
Yeah, well, if you remember in the it was the forged child custody documents. She got the kids if anything happened to the other sons.
Right. All the stuff was forged 3 weeks before the murders.
Yeah.
So anyways, they've been arrested since 2018. Nothing's gone to trial. Jake was scheduled to go to trial in August of this year. He pled guilty on the 5th anniversary of these murders.
Yeah, I was shocked when you texted me that. I was like, what in the world? I
had to reread. Kathy Russin, who's over at Law and Crime Network, great person to follow if you love true crime, she had tweeted it out. And I kind of had to read it 2-3 times to make sure I was reading it correctly, because it seemed to me this family was thick as thieves.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody was going to turn just because of what we had heard about how deep their relationship was.
Well, if you remember, one of the jail phone calls to Angela's mom, they broke the law and had Jake on there.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like a 3-way call where they could communicate with each other. So that's pretty tight.
Right. My theory about why is I have a couple, but when you have these kind of families where the apron strings are never cut, and I think it's called failure to launch, where kids just stay right under their parents and everything is done with their approval and so on and so on. I kind of wondered if a few years in county jail, away from these guys, largely he has had no communication with his brother or his mom or dad since they were arrested. And I kind of wonder, being away from them for a few years, did it kind of show him that maybe, I don't know. I mean, did he think, look what they got me into? I don't know. Did he have a come to Jesus moment? Something snapped in him and he was ready for this to be over.
Yeah.
Now, his lawyer says that the reason he did this was because he felt sorry for the rodents. I don't know how true that is, but he pled guilty. And not only that, he's been working with prosecutors for a while now, from what we've learned.
Yeah.
And has led them to the murder weapons that they previously couldn't find, and also a vehicle that was bought specifically to use in these murders.
Yeah.
He sang like a canary.
Oh, yeah. He told him everything.
So we said that this came on the 5th anniversary of the murders. Technically, they said he decided to change his plea last Saturday. So a little over a week ago. And he said he wanted to spare his life.
Yep.
Now, we were watching this just right before we went on, the video about Jake. Every time he pled, he would say, I am guilty.
Yeah.
But what did we notice when it came to Hannah, his ex-girlfriend and the mother of his child, Hannah Gilley, who is Frankie Roden's fiance and the mother of one of his kids, and Kenneth Roden? What did we notice?
He had this nervous grin, kind of, sort of, but it was more, it was like I'm grinning at a bad time. It was like he was trying to,
I don't think he wanted to show emotion.
Yeah, he was trying to hide or suppress, I guess is a word, suppress emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Because a couple of times he didn't even answer right away.
Yeah, with his ex-girlfriend's murder, he stopped and closed his eyes and kind of, it seemed like he just had a hard time getting it out.
A big gulp.
Yeah.
Big swallow.
Now, I'm not saying that he was remorseful, because at the end of the day, you have to look, they murdered 8 people. And not only that, they left a 4-day-old newborn in the bed with his mother covered in blood. With her mother. It was a girl.
Yeah.
Same thing with Frankie's kids. You had an infant in the bed who, according to Bobby Joe Manley, who found the bodies, said the baby was trying to nurse his dead mother and was at the same time patting his dad's chest.
Yeah, it's just horrible.
So these are not good people, and I don't care if you felt a tinge of remorse. You're a bad person. You're evil.
Yeah, I mean, you killed 5 out of the 8 is what he's claiming. So, yeah.
But you do know people. I know people who will smile at the most inopportune times when they want to cry.
Yeah.
And I watched it, and with all the other times that he said, I am guilty, he didn't do this.
No, it was only on those, yeah.
And if you think about it, at some point he loved Hannah. Hannah Gilley and Kenneth Roden were, I hate to say collateral damage, but maybe he just never had a problem with those two.
Yeah.
And so for whatever reason, maybe he did a few years thinking about it. Did he feel remorse? Who knows? Who cares? I mean, at least the family will not have to go through his trial this year.
Yeah. Yep. So Jake's attorney did say that he goes into this with eyes wide open, that he said it was the right decision. He said Jake knows he will die in prison and that it was a terrible crime and he's sorry.
Right. So part of this plea deal, one of the things that happened is they took the death penalty off, not only for Jake, but also for his mom, Angela, dad, Billy, and his brother, George IV. So none of them can now be sentenced to death for these murders. Could that have been motivation for him to do it? Is it that he doesn't want his family to be sentenced to death? Who knows?
But like we talked about, how strong was this case?
I do not think it was strong. And I'll tell you, if I mean, I'm glad that he pled guilty, but they had very little DNA evidence. And we know they didn't have the murder weapon.
Yeah.
So if I were the other 3, he kind of, he tripped them up, because now the state's going to have a rock solid case against the rest of them.
Yeah, because he's testifying.
But I would have taken my chances in court, because it only takes one.
Yeah.
It only takes one juror to doubt. And I'm going to tell you, I read an article. I'm going to post it on our Twitter feed and our Facebook feed. I'm trying to find. It's called Murder on Union Hill Road, and it's from Hazlitt. And one of our listeners sent it to me, and so thanks for that. But they said that, I just lost my whole train of thought. I had a pain. What's up? Where was I going with this?
I have no clue. No, we were talking about Jake and him testifying, and you know what I think? While you're trying to get your thought over?
Oh, I got my thought.
Okay, go ahead.
So what I wanted to say is when you read this article, you're going to see that there were people in that community about 3-4 months after the murders who really were not shy in expressing that they did not think very highly of the Rodens at all. So if you think about jury selection or something to that effect, they probably would have, I don't think they were going to move these trials. You could have gotten one person on that jury who maybe had a run-in with the Rodens at some point or whatever, who wouldn't have convicted.
Yeah. It's almost like Jake in his, and I don't know his mind because I'm not in it, but is he trying to be the savior of the family? Well, I'm saving y'all from the death penalty.
Maybe.
But I ain't gonna lie, I wouldn't want to live in prison. I would be okay going to meet Jesus because I ain't hanging out in there.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, he flat out said they're all involved. They were all involved the night of the murders.
Yeah, so something has caused him to confess and spill his guts everywhere and tell everything.
But it's not totally off the table that a few years in jail, he's had time to ponder what they did. He probably sees the murders in his head. I mean, could it just be simply that he is remorseful to an extent and just wants it over?
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, the prison where he could be sent to, Charlie Reeder, the sheriff who was the lead on this, he was the sheriff at the time of the murders, and actually one of the people that the Wagners were heard kind of making a hit list of people associated with the case they wanted to murder. They could very well be in the same prison for 3 years while Reeder is serving his sentence for kind of misusing state funds.
Wow.
I mean, how weird is that?
Yeah.
That is just strange. I mean, he even made comments about what the Wagners had allegedly said about wanting to kill him and DeWine and some of the other people associated with the investigation. Can you imagine how awkward it's going to be if they bump into each other in the chow hall?
Yeah, that'll be a little weird. It's always, I know there's like special precautions they use when officers get arrested and are in prison or whatever. But yeah,
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
it's crazy to be in prison with people you put there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I don't think you would be treated fairly.
No, I don't think so. But then
No.
again, from what I've heard, they don't just put you in segregation because people don't like you. So they don't, it's not like that in prison. You're part of the general population. We told the story of Gabriel Hernandez's mother, who was in the same facility as the girl I know. And according to her, she got beat up and robbed so much she attacked a prison guard just to go back into segregation. So somebody like her who's had a documentary, a multi-part documentary on Netflix made about her crimes was in Gen Pop.
Yeah.
So who knows? It's
Yep.
just, I just thought it was very ironic
Oh, yeah.
that they could potentially be in the same prison for a few years.
Yep. So Jake received 8 life without parole sentences and 160 years for the firearms charges, plus a $370,000 in restitution and fines.
Yeah. And some people say, why do you get 8 life sentences and 160 years on top of that? And the answer is this. Every person that was murdered that night deserves to have the charges for those murders put on Jake and the rest of the family. So I just hear that a lot. Like, why do they get 5 life sentences, 8 life sentences? It's just, it's the penalty for murdering 8 people.
Yeah. Yep. So we talked about Jake says he shot and killed 5 of the 8 victims, that he's deeply sorry. He said it's all accurate when the prosecution read the facts.
Mm-hmm.
The prosecution did say they now have enough evidence beyond doubt to convict Billy, Angela, and George the Fourth. The murderers, that was the murderer. The murders were committed in the early hours of April 22nd of 2016.
Yeah, because we know Dana had worked a double shift that night, and then she was posting on Facebook after midnight. So it seems like at some point, probably after 2 or 3 in the morning is when all this started.
Yeah. So my question is, I mean, if you look at this case is super strong now.
Oh, yeah. I don't think the other the prosecutor said in court when Jake was pleading guilty, it's very possible at this point that the other 3 just take a plea or just plead guilty. To take a plea, I mean, usually the death penalty is their bargaining chip. And now that that's off the table, I don't see how any of them have a trial and argue this successfully after Jake has told the prosecution what happened.
Yeah.
I bet I would love to have been a fly on the wall
when
they found out Jake told.
Oh, yeah.
And the other thing that I was thinking about, do you remember the tattoo issue where Billy has a tattoo of a scorpion on kind of between his thumb and his forefinger that goes sort of up towards the wrist area?
Yeah.
They were wanting a photograph of that just recently. They said that the state wanted to get a picture of that tattoo. I kind of wonder if maybe Jake didn't give them some back meaning of what that tattoo meant. I would be curious to know if he had that tattoo before the murders, because I think I've read that scorpions, for each little part of the body is how many people you've murdered. And I zoomed in and tried to count. I'm pretty sure I counted 8.
Huh.
So who knows?
That's interesting.
I think he told him everything. I don't think he held back.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, you're pleading guilty. Why not just tell it all?
Here's my other thing, though. I think they photograph all that.
They do, but for some reason, the prosecution specifically wanted a picture of that, and it was just recent. They wanted to be able to photograph it. So I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what happens with that. And maybe, too, they want their own photograph and not one that the jail took.
Sure.
That way there's no question
or
about...
Or maybe focused in a different way or something.
Well, that way, too, you don't get his defense attorneys questioning the validity of the photo if the jailhouse took it.
Yeah.
You can say, we took it, we stand by it.
Yeah.
If anything's wrong, it's on us. I don't know.
Yep. So, Jake, when he sat down with prosecutors, he did give them some new information. The prosecution did have a lot of what he shared. They had already put that together, but he led them to additional evidence. And we're thinking probably murder weapons, vehicles that were used in the murders.
Mm-hmm.
One of the vehicles was purchased specifically for the murders. And we do have some info that locals said that a dive team was seen around the time of the plea deal.
Yeah, they were out, and it's just not something you see in this part of the country. It's a very, very small town. Nothing ever happens there as far as something of this magnitude. So somebody did reach out to us and say, we did see a dive team. So we don't know if maybe it's a weapon or, what, but... If you think about it, too, the grandmother, Frederica, she has this huge farm.
Yeah.
And I would love to know if at any point, since he's been working with prosecutors, have they seen law enforcement at her property?
That'd be a good question.
Yeah, if anybody knows locally, shoot us a message.
Yeah.
I kind of got the idea too. The prosecutor said something, and I just couldn't find it because it's over 2 hours long, and it almost sounded like there may not that. I don't know if it's knowledge of the crimes or helping before or after. I don't think during. It almost sounded like there were other people the prosecution thought may have in some way been involved. I don't think it's part of the murders, but it'll be interesting to see if now that he's confessed to everything, if anybody else is arrested.
True.
Because we know the grandmas were, but they dropped charges against them. One was for the forgery, which Jake admitted as part of this plea that his grandmother never signed these documents, that they were all forged. Angela was the one who saw the message where Hannah Roden was communicating with Tabitha, who is George IV's ex-wife, and the one who signed custody over to George after obviously being threatened. The grandmother was telling Hannah, don't give in to these people. You will regret it. That's when Hannah said, they will have to kill me first. That was screenshotted. And according to Jake, it was Angela who screenshotted it and then showed it to Jake.
Yeah.
That seems like your motive right there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Boy, he's singing like a canary.
Yeah, I mean, what does he have to lose? He's never going to see his family again. He's probably never going to get to talk to them again. I don't think inmates can talk to other inmates.
Yeah, I don't think
at different facilities. So he has nothing to lose.
Nope.
It's not like they're going to have a family reunion at any point in this life.
Yeah. Some of the other stuff he did share was that the silencer they found on the Wagner property was a prototype that failed. So we had talked about before that they were making homemade silencers. So
yeah.
Hey, what do you think about the gag order?
I kind of wonder if they'll lift it at this point. I mean, probably not until the other 3 cases are resolved, but I kind of hope, not for the Roden family, but for our own curiosity, if one of these go to trial, Jake will testify against them. And I think that's when we hear the entire story from start to finish, from the time they started planning until the murders were completed. You know, he even talked about how they had destroyed trail cameras and DVRs from the properties that night.
Yeah, you're going to take it all with you.
Yeah, it started 2 to 3 months before the planning started 2 to 3 months before the murders. And he said that they took, I believe, 6 cell phones out of 8 victims. They took 6 of their cell phones and destroyed them.
And they had the phone jammer with them, which would have eliminated them being able to make phone calls to each other.
Yeah, it was weird to see the wedding band tattoo that he had gotten. I think Hannah had gotten one as well when they were together, as he's pleading guilty to her murder.
Yeah.
Now, George IV has the other brother. He has a hearing scheduled for next week. I'm curious to see if it happens.
Yeah, that'll be because I think it was on the evidence wasn't enough or something, wasn't it?
Well, that was his argument.
Yeah.
Was that it seems like the evidence they had, he had the least against him. At least that's how the defense presented it. And they have the discovery, so they know. But, I mean, at this point, it just seems to me the best thing they can all do is plead guilty and just go away.
Yeah.
Be gone.
Yep.
So that was just a huge, huge shock for us. One thing in the article that I'm going to Murder on Union Hill Road, there were at least 31 gunshot wounds between the 8 victims.
That's crazy.
That's personal.
Oh, yeah.
Bobby Joe Manley said that the smells in the 2 houses where she found the bodies, she said it almost smelled like pennies that had been in your hand too long. Do you know that smell? It's really bad.
It's a metallic smell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she said that she smelled it in Chris Sr.'s house, and then she smelled it again in Frankie Jr.'s trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, okay, so they didn't want to share custody of this little girl. So they kill her whole family, including her mother. Now her dad and her uncle and her grandparents are going to be in prison for the rest of their life. She's in foster care and will likely be adopted out at some point. Was it worth it?
No, it's so messed up.
It goes to show you how selfishness, and the inability to understand that this child had two parents that loved her, or I don't think Jake could love his child and do what he did. And now she's not going to know any of them. She's 7 years old now.
Yeah.
We did hear as part of the plea deal. Now, this is not something that was said in the hearing, but we have heard that he did get a visitation with Sophia virtually as part of this. Now, we can't confirm that, but this is not some kind of crazy rumor. Yeah. And it kind of does make sense if he's trying to, give the prosecution what they need to wrap at least his case up and get the others. I'm sure she probably doesn't even remember him at this point.
Oh, yeah.
It's been
I don't
years.
think so either.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's kind of all we had on this. I think the big thing now is just to watch and see what happens with the other three.
Oh, yeah. I would love to know their reactions.
I bet Billy's fit to be tied. He just looks like a mean man.
I'm going to tell you, though, I think the mom is like the ringleader.
I do, too.
So I bet she is flipping.
Well, she had some medical issues. She had been taken out of the jail at some point for medical. And that was on, I guess, her website where they tell about her custody. Could it be that was motivation for Jake if he caught wind that his mom's sick? And we don't know this, but if she's got something going on with her, maybe he's just like, forget it. Let's not go through all this. Who knows? But it does seem like Angela was the one that had this weird obsession with this custody.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how it started.
Yep.
So crazy.
Hey, guys. Thanks for listening. I've really enjoyed interacting with you this week on this case. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Check us out on social media and have a good evening.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.